planet of the fakes. And Pig Star HH News. Mayor de Blasio was a passenger in a car crash. The NYPD covered it up. On a Saturday morning in August 2015, Mayor de Blasio was in the back seat of a black NYPD Chevy Tahoe bound for an event in Harlem when a driver changing lanes slammed into his ride. No one was hurt, but the commanding officer of the mayor's Executive Protection Unit, Howard Redmond, was furious. Text messages obtained by the Daily News show he immediately ordered the incident be covered up to protect de Blasio's image. As per the commanding officer, no one is to know about this, SGT. Jerry Ioveno texted members of the unit, referring to Redmond. Not even the other teams. No one is to know, he repeated. Text messages obtained by the news revealed that Redmond frantically covered up the Aug 22, 2015, car crash due to concerns about optics. The previously unreported crash offers insight into the powerful commanding officer's critical role covering up embarrassing episodes involving the mayor. It also hints at why Redmond remains in his post despite turmoil in the unit. The news has previously reported on allegations that Redmond covered up the case of an Executive Protection Unit lieutenant accused of roughing up a sergeant at Gracie Mansion. No report on the crash is publicly available in State Department of Motor Vehicles records. Redmond allegedly ordered that the cop behind the wheel, Detective Edgar Robles, be officially listed as the driver of a backup SUV. Text messages show that way, the unit could more plausibly claim the mayor was in the vehicle involved in the collision, a source close to the Executive Protection Unit said. The crash was covered up in part because of de Blasio's Vision Zero initiative, which seeks to reduce pedestrian and traffic deaths through stricter enforcement, according to multiple sources close to the Executive Protection Unit. The Vision Zero site proclaims the city of New York must no longer regard traffic crashes as mere accidents, but rather as preventable incidents that can be systematically addressed. State law requires all occupants of vehicles involved in accidents to stay at the scene. But a retired member of the Executive Protection Unit said it wasn't unusual for a VIP under the unit's protection to be taken away as long as there was no serious injury. More New York, Philadelphia cop accused of helping girlfriend steal her brother's Maltese dog from Brooklyn home. NYPD spokesman Phil Walzvik told the news that the NYPD investigated the accident involving de Blasio's SUV and determined the NYPD was at fault. Far from a cover-up, this in fact shows the exact opposite. The NYPD took this incident seriously. The NYPD did not reply to a request for additional comment. Street safety advocates said the failure to document the crash involving de Blasio's vehicle was peculiar, especially given the mayor's self-proclaimed commitment to transparency. The mayor could have played this so much differently, said Joe Cutrufo, a spokesman for the Safe Streets group Transportation Alternatives. Why not get in front of it, snap a photo and put out a tweet, saying they had a minor fender bender, nobody was hurt, and that they'll be more careful next time? That the Executive Protection Unit worked so hard to cover it up isn't a good look for the NYPD, which hasn't exactly been a leader in the city's Vision Zero efforts. More New York cops seek man who raped Queens massage parlor worker. The accident was the second involving the unit that month. In another, previously unreported collision, City First Lady Chirlane McRae's vehicle was involved in a crash on Aug 12, 2015, that is the subject of ongoing lawsuits. A DMV accident report shows that McRae was a passenger. The two civilian drivers involved in the crash told the news the police version of events on the report is bogus. I knew it was total BS, said Bianca Berkemeyer, whom the city considers at fault for $6,793 in damages. More New York MTA offers little accommodation to pregnant employees. Even the way they described the impact to my car, none of it made sense. City Hall declined to comment on the accidents. Immediately after the Harlem crash involving de Blasio, Robles drove the SUV across the street, a source close to the mayor's detail said. By the time the civilian driver had reached the vehicle, de Blasio had left it and was walking away with members of his detail, a source familiar with the incident said. More New York Raging Bull was almost cancelled by studio. Martin Scorsese reminds Robert De Niro at Tribeca Film Festival talk. Is Eagle Ioveno asked in a text message, using de Blasio's code name. Not really, a detective wrote. An hour later, the cover-up kicked into gear, text messages show. More New York L train runs with minor hiccups during first weekend of slowdown, but 14th Street proving to be a problem. Redmond hellbent that this doesn't get out to anyone. We need to kill the story. Executive Protection Unit Cop Jorge Bravo wrote. He went off on optics of this detail, the little things, double parking and crosswalks minus. Bravo added, referencing common complaints of street safety advocates who see double parking and vehicles in crosswalks as symptoms of a toxic car culture. No one is to know. Also, Eagle was not in the limo. Are we clear, guys, please? Ioveno said, using the code word limo for the NYPD Chevy Tahoe. More New York man fatally struck by train while walking on tracks at Penn Station. Redmond allegedly became infuriated when members of the unit drove the damaged SUV back to Gracie Mansion instead of One Police Plaza. Both passenger side doors of the vehicle were damaged. The ride was out of service for 2 weeks, the source close to the Executive Protection Unit said, suggesting that the damage was larger than the $1,000 minimum required to report a crash to the DMV. He asked about people knowing the story of the accident, not the accident itself, and that the limo was brought back to Gracie Mansion and a press guy could have taken a picture, Bravo wrote. He asked me to tell you guys all this and that we all need to be sharper. More New York cop injures leg, chasing pair suspected of swiping makeup from Upper West Side. Wayne read. It was nice working with you guys, quipped Robles, seemingly concerned about getting transferred. Stop it, another detective wrote. A third detective wrote back, dude, really stop. That's minus happens, bro. More New York, no, more free rides over Verrazano Bridge if polls have their way. Marshall Bellavin, an attorney representing 6 former members of the mayor's detail, who have brought discrimination claims, said the episode was another example of the detail's lack of transparency. His clients have said the unit's culture of secrecy resulted in Redmond wrongly passing them over for promotions. The text messages I've seen describe a plan where no one was to know that the mayor didn't remain in his limousine after the accident. There is even language in the texts that no one was to know about the police report concerning the accident, Bellavin said. The common thread between the accident and my client's cases is the lack of transparency. More New York Good Samaritans thwart Upper West Side subway axe attack by man with bag full of weapons. The prior crash involving McRae occurred on the FDR Drive and was documented with the DMV, though ex-CTLI what happened is still being argued in court. In that crash, Berkemeyer's 2004 Toyota sideswiped McRae's SUV, resulting in a collision with a second NYPD vehicle, and a 2005 Nissan driven by Cecilio Mendez, according to an accident report obtained by the news. Berkemeyer disputes that version. She said McRae's vehicle hit her first. Even the way they described the impact to my car, none of it made sense, she said. More New York woman, 72, in critical condition after being struck by box truck in Brooklyn. Driver charged. McRae was quickly taken from the scene, according to Mendez and Berkemeyer, who said she didn't realize the city's first lady had been in the vehicle until she sat for a deposition last year. The way I see it is the city against 2 civilians, Berkemeyer said. Mendez had to have shoulder surgery due to the crash and said he suffers from backaches and neck pain. He has sued the city and Berkemeyer. Mendez's attorney Jack Grossman said the accident report looked suspicious. It includes no witness statements and a diagram of the crash is baffling. More New York police shoot at knife-wielding suspected robber in Brooklyn. Nobody hit. The way the police report is written, you can kind of tell they were covering something up, Grossman said. If you see the diagram it doesn't make sense. They seem to whisk everybody away without anybody saying anything. The Executive Protection Unit has been involved in more recent motor vehicle mishaps, as well. Accident reports obtained by the news show that Redmond himself was involved in a January 2018 crash in Suffolk County while behind the wheel of a NYPD SUV. A NYPD official said Redmond was off duty and on his way home and that his vehicle was struck. In July 2018, another cop, Christopher Pizzo, rear-ended a car in Huntington, LI, while behind the wheel of an unmarked Honda sedan spotted at Gracie Mansion. A police official said Pizzo had not yet been assigned to the Executive Protection Unit at the time of this crash. More New York man, 27, stabbed to death on Brooklyn Street. In October, Pizzo crashed that same Honda into a utility pole in Nassau County. Pizzo was not on unit duties the day of the second crash, the official said. In the mass of nervous texts the day of the Blasio accident, one detective conveyed the seriousness of what was a minor crash. I didn't tell anybody anything, he wrote. So that's covered, Bravo replied. More New York 20% tips. Harlem cult leader, who faces jail over church money scheme, still running congregation. About 12:40 p.m. that day, as the detectives huddled at Gracie Mansion, they continued to worry about